Hey Bruce, welcome back.
Hey, Adam. How are you today?
Way better because I almost read your book. So I think that there are 10 pages left.
Okay.
And the the title of the book is ChatGPT with Java, right? So this is what I forgot actually.
Yes, ChatGPT for Java.
For Java. Blue cover. And yeah, and I read it. And now my impression. Maybe we can start. We can discuss the
Sounds
book.
good.
And yeah. So I started to read the first chapter, and then I was a bit disappointed. I say, why you are using URL connection to fetch something and not HTTP Java 11 client? Then you use Java HTTP 11 client, and then I understood what you are doing. So maybe as a clarification, so what I understood later, you use ChatGPT as a how to call it co-programmer, right? Like as
Yes,
like a pair programmer,
exactly.
and you try to use as much code as possible generated by ChatGPT. This is also almost like a bootstrap from the beginning, right?
Exactly.
Because I read the code, it's like, why are you using ancient Java APIs, and then they became newer, and then you use OK HTTP. I said this is not consistent. Oh, what's going on? But it was okay. What happens if we just use ChatGPT and work exactly with the code, right?
Exactly. So let me slow you down just a little bit. So in the first chapter, I decided to try to help developers out to understand about how does Chat GPT work at the most basic level,
Mm-hmm.
because some developers don't understand all of the AI terminology.
Mm-hmm.
For some of them, they just say, "Well, I don't understand what a model is. I don't understand what a token is. I don't understand temperature." So in the first chapter, I try to normalize all of the terminology so
Mm-hmm.
that when you get to the next steps, everything makes a whole lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
In the second chapter, due to the fact that there's no standard API for ChatGPT for Java developers, I decided, hey, you know what? Why don't we have some fun here and just, as you said, bootstrap everything, build your own client, because the APIs change so much that you deciding on any of the Java frameworks that exist today, your code will be out of date by next week because they're
Mm-hmm.
constantly changing things, adding new features to the APIs. So
Mm-hmm.
if you bootstrap your own, you can easily update your API so that it works just for you. And also you keep it thin. You keep it very, very lightweight. You don't have all of these dependencies that that you simply don't need.
Mm-hmm.
So as you stated, if you pair program with Chat GPT, just like with, I call it uh, it is at the level of an intern.
Yeah.
So it's not a great pair programmer. It can get some things done, but it's not an architect. It can't make architectural level decisions. So you need to be the guiding hand that says, okay, let's include this API. Let's not use this one. Let's do this particular way. Let's not do it that particular way. In chapter 3, we say, let's use the builder pattern because it allows you to easily add on things that you want as you build and construct your objects, because by default, it may not decide that. So
Exactly.
this approach allows you to customize your own ChatGPT client for Java and then use that to do all the other things that you actually need to use it for.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So okay. So let's walk through the book
Sure.
because and then discuss ChatGPT and Java programming in general. So this would be interesting talk. But um, so I the what you did is was actually added value without ChatGPT. So if you just keep ChatGPT and OpenAI aside, so what I really like is the Slack chapter, because you described how to integrate with Slack, which is interesting. So
Thank you.
because if someone would like just to use Slack. They can just buy your book and see how it works. And even more interesting, you do the same for Discord. So there's the Discord bot, also interesting one. How to integrate a Discord board, and even you described how Discord works internally, so that you say, okay, how to get this only this notifications you are interested in, and then how to also integrate LLM for it. So I would say this is what I really enjoyed, because
it was really fun.
Yeah, and I say, because it's okay that this ChatGPT, I get it, so I work a lot with it. But for me was also the Discord and the Slack part, and so I would say really interesting book. It was a fun read. So
Thank you.
At the beginning, I was disappointed by the Java quality until I understood that it was entirely generated by ChatGPT, which is fine. But now the interesting question, right? So if you work with ChatGPT in project, you have basically two approaches. So you can customize the prompts that ChatGPT generates more and more code, as you actually need.
Right.
This is what I am doing actually. We use not only ChatGPT, we use Bedrock and Claude, for instance, and other LLMs to generate state machines or rule engines, which actually access already existing APIs, right? So what we do, we implement our API first, the tests, and then say, hey, LLM, generate the code, but the code already uses our API and it looks as our code.
Right.
It is like 90% there. Of course, the developer always takes ownership of the code. It's not like, we blindly believe what happens. So what we do is we use the prompt as a Java doc for the code, and unit test is generated, and the code and a really skilled developer has to review the code, but it's a huge speed up, right?
Exactly.
So this is what we do. And another approach would be to say, I don't care, the API is moving fast, like ChatGPT. I generate code that works today, and tomorrow I will regenerate the code. It's like a throwaway approach, right?
Exactly.
So there are the two possibilities, I would say. In the middle is a mess. So what I think what won't fly is that the junior developer will start coding with LLM without any knowledge, because I would say after 3 iterations, the code is unusable, right?
Right.
And this is what I would compare with. I don't know whether you remember for sure. The Ruby hype, Ruby on Rails.
Yeah. I remember those days.
Yeah, and back then, now everyone moved to Rails, and they say, okay, now we can the type safety is not a problem, and and there were lots of projects were not well tested because and then was a huge mess afterwards. There were lots of Ruby on Rails, migration or modernization projects, because no one could understood what's going on.
Exactly.
And with ChatGPT is inverse. So because if you just generate more code, at the end of the day, no one will understand what's going on. Let's say if someone will read just the code from your book without knowing that it's generated by ChatGPT, the first example uses URL connection, which is ancient and is problematic, because I think there is limited to 5 connections to the same domain. Then the next one is HTTP 11 client, which is great, but the next one is HTTP from Square, I think. Square, exactly, which is also cool. But now the question is why we have 3, and the answer is because this was decision of ChatGPT. So I would say in such a project, someone will have to decide what you are doing. Otherwise, it is going to be worse than the Rails and SOA days back then, with lots of code was generated and no one knew what's going on, right?
Right. So let me just drop in here. So yes. So if you are not careful, if you don't know what you are doing, as you basically said, it's like a junior developer. He's going to go to Stack Exchange, look up something, grab some code, copy paste it, and to get something working. If you follow the examples in the book, yes, we're going to take things step by step. You have to definitely look over ChatGPT's shoulder. You just can't trust it to make the end decisions, which in one of the chapters, I think that talks about the prompt engineering, I clearly state ChatGPT is not going to take away anyone's job. It's just not possible, because it is able to help with code, but it cannot make a thoughtful decision long enough to make a project stable. So as you basically said, if you keep going on with the iterations, it can produce anything that can run code, but supporting something like that would be a nightmare. So
Mhm.
one of the things that I coached it to do was that due to the fact that the Slack API uses OK HTTP, I changed the basically prompt so that it can just use that API already there. So in
Mhm.
other words, don't, it's a support nightmare to use multiple HTTP clients for a single project. So
Mhm.
if Slack, no, due to the fact that Slack already uses the OK HTTP in chapter 3, I say, hey, you know what? Let's just continue with this because it's obviously not a good support. It's not a good support work or effort to mix HTTP clients.
Mhm.
Later on, we're continuing using OK because it is also good for multimedia. So chapter
Yeah,
4
exactly.
talks about, hey, you know what? I want to send audio to be transcribed. OK is a great library for that.
And Bruce, what I also like, I forgot about this chapter, is that you went through the effort and said, okay, we have to split the files, right? So because usually
Yes.
in a book you say, there's this tiny file, it works, but you say, okay, in real life, the files are going to be larger, and you actually use the Whisper model on OpenAI Whisper model, and it has limit of 10 megs. So you say, okay, now I have the problem. I would like to split the files. ChatGPT do this. So this was actually more or less a real world book, because I say, okay, let's assume I would like to use ChatGPT as much as possible. What happens there? And then you split the file to 10 megs chunk using ChatGPT and external library. And because I also say, I would use now the Java audio API, which is available.
Yep.
But they say, okay, but if ChatGPT came out with this solution, this is what it came out, right? Because you ask ChatGPT because you don't know what to do. If you already know what to do, you will formulate the prompt a little bit different. You will say, okay, hey,
Exactly.
ChatGPT, generate for me this with the media API. And and what's interesting thing, right? So if ChatGPT, let's say, gets a lot smarter, which is going to be hard because they already have the problem that there's not enough data to train. But let's say there will be another leap that it really creates perfect code, right? So it
Okay.
is possible, let's say. So now, you remember MDA, model-driven architecture, and the
Yep.
generation days?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I'm old, so yes.
yeah, but still, you could, just somehow garbage collect the knowledge, right? So, but back then was the idea, and there are lots of companies which create to generate working applications from UML models called PIM,
Right.
Platform Independent Model, and the idea was you provide the additional knowledge or information in sequence diagrams and
Rational rows
state
was a huge
rational
tool.
rows.
Yeah.
I used Together J back then a lot, and there was Eclipse EMF, Eclipse Modeling Framework, and Open Architecture. There are lots of tools, and the problem is, of course, it worked well
Yep.
if the code was chatty. So it means
Mhm.
if we had, to create lots of boilerplate code.
Yes.
So it means, for application servers, XML and stuff for Java EE application servers and crazy architectures with 20 layers in data transfer objects.
Yes.
But what I did back then already, I said, if we generate the code, why we need all the intermediation layers if it's generated anyway? Because decoupling doesn't matter. Because if I would like to decouple, I change the model and generate perfectly what I need.
Exactly.
So what happened then in my projects, I had almost one-to-one relation between the PIM and PSM. So I had one idea in the model, and then one Java class, which was very simple, and there were no decouplings. So, and then I said, why I need then, the model itself, because then the Java became the model, and this is why most of my EJB3 and Java E5, Java E6 project were extremely lean, because okay, if you have everything in one place, it works.
Yes.
I would say similar it is on ChatGPT, because for me, it is like glorified code generator, right? You have a prompt,
Yes.
which can be, and the question is, how much information can you put in the prompt that it generates exactly what you need, right? This is the challenge.
Right. Correct.
If you make the prompt too large, we have already the problem. There's a name for it, which I forgot. That
lost in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you read my mind. Exactly. This is the problem. The information at the beginning and the information at the end is more significant than information in the middle.
Exactly.
So it means if the prompt is too long, you are losing information without knowing which information you are losing. So, and if the prompt is, you have multiple prompts, it becomes almost like a microservice project, because this will generate this part, this will generate this part. So it means this is an interesting challenge.
Yes.
But if the chat becomes super intelligent, then we could generate code which we don't care about.
Right.
And then the question is why we generate, Java code at all and not bytecode, because I will never look at the code again, right? So I think we have two options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether we generate code which is maintainable and then has to be perfect,
right?
Or we generate code which doesn't matter, but I don't need the code, right? So this is the two options which are good for big projects.
Right. That's a pretty interesting idea of just generating the bytecode itself. Because if it's throwaway code and there is no possibility for maintenance, I never thought about that.
Yeah, because it will be no possibility for maintenance either if you generate code which you don't have no chance to review, right? So because if it generates thousands of Java classes, no one will look at this again. And Java, maybe you're lucky, but imagine Python, which is dynamic language.
Right.
Then you're complete. There is a mission impossible to or Perl or whatever. Yeah. And we had similar conversation already with Jose Pomar from Oracle about LLM. Says also, you have to be courageous to use LLMs and generate everything or nothing, because if you don't trust it, what to do, right? So because the juniors programmer, let's say, if they generate, the Java code, they will never ever write a unit for it, right? Because if you copy over from Stack Overflow, you won't copy it the unit test. There is no unit test.
No.
But I work with junior programmers. They were excellent. So what they did is they didn't copy the thing. They questioned everything and wrote what they knew, and the code was basically excellent. So I think nowadays you could be a junior programmer which behaves like a senior, and using ChatGPT to understand what a junior is actually doing. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Instead of copying stuff from Stack Overflow, you say, this is the task. ChatGPT generate for me a canonical Java 21 solution without any external dependencies. It generates once, can ask another model, which is a good idea, get another example. And what I also do is say, please generate 3 examples, and also please give feedback about my prompt. So you get to know your feedback was good, but ask, in this direction. And now we are talking. Now a junior can be as effective as a senior. And if he spends time, you can even learn faster, right?
Absolutely. So what you're basically talking about is good and effective prompt engineering, which is a horrible term that has been overused on the internet. But if a junior understands how ChatGPT thinks and how it's able to produce code, as you basically said, ChatGPT is not deterministic. Therefore, have it generate whatever that you need multiple times. Analyze what those differences are. There are multiple ways to solve the same problem. If you can understand, I have multiple approaches here. Let me choose this particular one because I need this particular pattern. It fits with our architecture. If you can understand how to engineer your prompts, you can actually write pretty good code.
Yeah.
Pretty good code.
And learn a lot.
Yes, and you can learn. And you can learn. So, for example, getting back to the book, in chapter 4, where we're doing multimedia, there are multiple different ways to split an audio file. What that limitation is that Whisper, which is one of the models available, can transcribe almost any audio file, and it has really high accuracy, especially for the English language. I tested out with some other languages. I might have tried German. I know I tried French and Spanish. It basically needs to be coached on some of the proper names, but if it gets enough context, it can definitely translate files that even have mixed languages. So if you have English and Spanish, it will understand both of them very, very well. But that limitation is that you can only send a file that's up to 10 megabytes.
Uh-huh.
So in the book, I show developers, hey, let's bootstrap. Basically, the whole theme of the whole book is let's bootstrap everything.
Yeah.
Build everything yourself. Even if it may not be the most excellent code at the beginning, you need to understand and to identify where those problems are and then engineer to make it better that next time around.
What you should do, you should put an label or whatever on the cover and say, no, disclaimer, as much code as possible was generated by ChatGPT.
Yes.
Because after a chat with you, I was a bit disappointed because after two code examples, I saw you seem smart and you've write, JDK 1.1 code. So what's wrong? And then I understood a little bit later that your attempt was, to tweak the prompt to generate what you need.
Yes.
And I thought this was like, you try in the first chapter, you try, to just use ChatGPT, but what you already did, I read too fast. What you already did, you already used ChatGPT to generate the bootstrap, and this is, maybe it should be more obvious. This is my one criticism of the book, what I can give you.
Okay, thank you.
And some prompts are too long, so I could cast some text, but other than that, maybe this was from your. I wrote some books and I also had to work, with the publishers, and they sometimes insist to have a thicker book. So I may imagine what happened, but so I would just remove some, because there's like the conversation with the customer. I would just cut it a half, so a little bit shorter. It's not a problem, but this is what I would do. Right?
Yeah. I totally get you there.
Yeah.
So basically, the theme is to bootstrap things.
Yeah.
Understand, however, that it's not going to produce, production quality code on the first prompt.
Mm-hmm.
That is not going to happen. However, it is a good pair programmer. So it will definitely help you to think a problem through. And so in chapter 4, you can actually have a very good client that will help you split the audio files using FFmpeg. If you have it installed.
Yeah. What I also like your idea is in the multi-modal part. So with This American Life podcast, I think, right?
Yeah.
This is the title. So where you said, okay,
very popular podcast.
Yeah. From the episode, describe please the text. Describe the title as for accessibility reasons. I think you mentioned, and then you got the description, and now come the cool idea. So you use the description as a prompt to generate an image.
Yes.
Which is really cool idea now. Now you're talking, that's a really added value, because you can say, okay, I have some, some text. So generate description or imagine something, and then you feed this to an image generator and a good, interesting image. And the two images are brilliant.
Yes.
They are two pictures. You printed. They are really. There's like a girl with a dog or cat dog. I think.
Dog, yes.
Dog, yeah, and they look really brilliant. So I would say this is really almost like a model chaining, right? So you do the first part and then the next part. And Java would be also brilliant for this. For me, working with the models is exactly the same architecture like microservices, right?
Exactly.
So you ask the first one, you get the prompt, and you can even have talk to two models.
Yes.
Then get, two prompts. Mm-hmm. Then you can ask a third model to say which prompt would be better for image generation. You pick the best one, you feed it to an image generator, get it back, and you store it somewhere. And this is a typical microservice LLM architecture.
Very simple. Actually. Very simple.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is what really
pretty fun stuff.
Really, yeah. This was the highlight with the description and the girl with a dog, because it was pretty cool. So I said, okay, do this, and nicely, right?
Exactly. So in that chapter there, we talk about how to have fun with podcasts, because I love podcasts. And one of the biggest issues for me is that I can't visualize things so well.
Okay.
So if I am hearing a great story, because I definitely like those that have either good dialogue or a great story. If I hear something, I'm always thinking, okay, I wonder what the context of the background of the subject of those characters. I'm just curious what that could look like. So in the chapter, all the code shows you how to take a podcast, use Whisper, transcribe it, use GPT-4 to get a summary of the transcription, and then using DALL-E 3 to visualize it. So the whole project is called a podcast visualizer. But the benefit is that you can then use that for, a ton of different applications. For instance, radio, right? You can actually have someone live streaming some audio, and then you can have something generating those pictures. This is great for accessibility, but it's also just great for, hey, this is a cool little project just for me, just to know what these things could look like. There's a technique on how to talk to each of the models. For DALL-E, you have to be very descriptive. If you're not descriptive, it has a generic artistic style, which looks AI generated, but there are different ways that allow you. So in that chapter, I describe, hey, if you know how to describe a dream, if you know how to describe things in the foreground, things in the background, what is the most pertinent things? Are you facing someone? Was someone turned from you? Are there multiple people there? How did things feel? DALL-E can understand all those things and to create pretty good pictures.
Yeah, amazing pictures. The two are really great.
Yeah.
And now, how much you tweak behind the scenes, So how much you cheated? So
you have to ask this.
Because you get the one prompt from one model, and you always reuse everything, or you cheated it a bit.
I reused everything. So
no cheating.
So let's pull back some of the scenes. When I was working on chapter 2 as ChatGPT being your pair programmer, seeing the first version of the code there was okay, but it could have been better. So I had to. That's actually part of the process, which is once you see something that you don't like, you have to converse back with it, just like you are talking to a junior developer. So in the chapter 3, where we're talking about the Slack API, I honestly did not even know Slack had a Java API. But once I Googled it and I saw the documentation for it, and I saw that it was terrible.
Hey, Google is cheating. You have to ask ChatGPT. now we are talking.
It can hallucinate. So therefore, I need to verify, because just asking ChatGPT, it can say things. Oh, and that just reminds me, when we're using chapters 6 and 7 about having it to do a Discord bot for tech support, it hallucinates. Right. So you have to tweak the prompt. So just to give people who have not yet read the book, in chapter 5, 6, and 7, we are basically doing everything in pure 100% Java on how to build a Discord bot that's going to be doing tech support. So if you have a community that you say, hey, you know what, everybody join our Discord channel, the bot will do moderation against, hate, sex, child, sexuality, but it will also prevent people from posting content that you don't like, such as sales pitches, to say, hey, you know what, join my other Slack channel. The tech support bot reads a simple text file and it understands everything. It does not have a lost in the middle problem because it was kept deliberately short. So I'm explaining to you, how I cheated, per se. You don't want to give it a whole book because it cannot understand that. Even if you use GPT-4 Vision Pro with 128K context window. So if you keep things short and efficient, it can actually Q&A all by itself. The issue, however, is that you have to understand prompt engineering the right way. So I walk you through the whole process. You ask it questions. So the scenario was that you're doing tech support for a bank, and they have this new app that they
Crook Bank, right?
Yeah, Crooks Bank.
Crooks Bank, exactly.
Exactly. So in the chapter, you're asking questions about, okay, does the app support this? It looks up into the text file and it answers it in natural language. I deliberately, actually just testing things out, I said, hey, how can I log in? It hallucinated and said, oh, you can use your face and touch ID. And
exactly.
I specifically did not say that the app could even support that. So you have to, so in that same chapter, you have to tweak the prompt to the system to say, hey, only answer the information, only answer based upon the information provided. Don't invent things. So part of I'm showing you the whole thing about, everything that was I am basically showing you everything. That was the process. It was trying things out, testing things out, and say, oh, wait, that's not correct. That is hallucination.
Yeah, this is about hallucination. So I'm also playing with ChatGPT and Claude, especially, because it hallucinates a little bit less. But what interesting part of the hallucinations, I asked about Java API once, and he hallucinated, but the method names were great. And I took a look, it's like, this is a cool idea. And what I did is I just used the hallucination as a test specification, and they're used to know I patched that. So I reused the hallucinated method as a name, and now they existed. So I used it as brainstorming. It is actually a great tool. But again, I think with LLMs, you can be more productive. You can learn a lot, but you have to know what you are doing.
You have to know what you're doing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think if I would use, I have Python. I'm not very skilled with Python. Actually, nothing. I have no knowledge about Python. So if I would use ChatGPT to generate Python code, I wouldn't even try. So my approach would be to read a Python book first.
Yes.
Then understand the code, and then
try things out.
And then try things out with ChatGPT, but question whatever. Right? So I would really afraid to use LLMs in a language which I don't like or I don't know.
Yes.
And like, usually what I don't like, I also don't know. But and in Java, it is really great because I can read the code on the fly. It's like, this is strange. This is maybe you do it, but it never generates something which I completely can reuse. This was I tried so many things, And maybe because I'm using the Java 21 and Java 22 and all the LLMs were basically trained on, I guess,
17.
Stack Overflow, Stack Overflow, whatever. And this was lots of old code,
right,
which you don't write anymore, right? But the ideas are good. So I have a business idea for you. I would really like to do it by myself, but I have absolutely no time of my projects.
Okay.
Next book. So what's coming up? So I actually completed a podcast with Alfonso Peterson. I think the GitHub repository is Mukel, Mukkel.
Okay.
And what he did is crazy.
Okay.
One Java file, and he is able to integrate with pure Java without any external dependencies with Llama 2. And he migrated Llama C to Llama Java with one Java file.
Really? Wow.
Yes. There is a screencast I created, and I just play with it. And the performance is a little bit slower than C without taking account to GPUs. Now he experiments with GPUs. This may be one of the most impactful Java LLM projects ever, because what it means to the enterprise is we can actually integrate LLMs with enterprise Java projects. There are millions of them.
Yep.
Without GNI, Python, nothing, just pure Java.
Wow.
And Llama happens to be almost like an standard how to integrate LLMs.
Yes.
So there is a Mistral, very similar.
Yes.
So what it means is with his work, you will be able to integrate with everything. So I give the URI to the show notes and give you this later.
Thank you.
So and now another thing which is requested a lot is LangChain4j.
Mm-hmm.
LangChain4j is an interesting project where you can integrate, for instance, now this will be the next second step. You could very easily have two Java interfaces, one talking to Claude and the other one talking to ChatGPT, and it's almost like a load balancing between models, and see, okay, let's see what comes out, and generate, two images with descriptions. So taking your book and making more, production-like.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And now it comes. This LangChain4j runs perfectly with Quarkus. Actually,
I know.
I would say best with Quarkus. And Quarkus is used a lot in enterprise. I can tell you all my project actually Quarkus. And I get many requests regarding this idea. So what you could do is you can use Quarkus and even natively compile the entire thing. So you get one file which talks to external models, and you can run it in Kubernetes, locally, CLI, whatever you like.
Exactly.
And this would be fun to write. Actually, I thought about this. I would really like to write a book, but not in the next 2 years. So I'm completely overloaded with projects. I think you are the man to do this.
Yes. You know what? I'm actually thinking about doing that. Before you even told me,
Yeah. You said we are twins, but it's somehow our minds are connected, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So I am super excited about Quarkus. I'm super excited about native compilation, and so because I have friends who use other languages. And one of my Rust developer friends is like, I said, "Oh man, Java is such an old language. Oh, you old guys. I use Rust, and so I can have native compilation." And so, but Grail with Quarkus is a game changer for us. So I'm definitely thinking about how to use, basically making Quarkus approachable for developers, documenting things the way that I like to, and then having practical examples. So
and what you could do, you could pick your code from your book, which exists right now, and do the same with LangChain4j.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if all the code will be interesting exercise. Now we did the experiment.
Yes.
And now what we would do, this was the entry point, and now make it a little bit nicer. So using microprofile, REST client or HTTP 11 client, and just go, the cleaner route.
Exactly.
And LangChain4j happens right now at already a podcast with Mitra. Quarkus, this is at the beginning, and everyone asked me about that, how to integrate LLMs in the enterprise. No one is interested to run Rust, Python, whatever. Why not? Because if you have an enterprise Java project, you will have to call the thing via JNI or whatever. And we had, the mess in the year 2000 where we had to call COBOL or C from JNI.
Yeah.
We had memo leaks. We have concurrency issues. So I think the thing to go is either HTTP or native Java integration. Exactly. And nothing, if you start with JNI, whatever. And imagine, all the pipelines, you will have to install all the dependencies, pip, whatever. I mean, in Java, we are not accustomed to do this, right? What we would like to have is one Maven dependency, and this is the way to go.
Exactly.
So I would say, and also play with Llama to Java. You will really love it.
Okay.
So it is one Java file. It is a really intense code because it uses the Java Vector API to talk to the LLM. But you could encapsulate that,
Yeah.
You could say, I pick the file, I click on interface, and I just call it. Why not? I mean, you don't have to understand the code. You can just reuse the code.
Exactly.
And play with it to show what's because this Project Babylon and a Vector API Valhalla, I think this is the perfect storm for Java LLMs, is what I observe.
That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, for you, really. And I think it will be the next step, but you have to write, unfortunately, right now, to keep the pace. And yeah, no kidding. Huge, I would say.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that developers really like the book, and I am going to be pitching the publisher for a second edition, especially once there are additional features that need to be covered. For instance, one of the things that I would definitely like to do is to talk about, you talked about vectors. Embeddings is something that it needs to be covered, but you need to also understand vector databases and how to actually store them. So there are several different things that I definitely want to do, and I'm definitely cranking ideas on, okay, what can I do in the next version? Because this landscape is changing lightning fast. And
this is why LangChain 4J can help you, because of the abstractions. And regarding embeddings and vectors, take a look at JVector. You are aware of JVector?
I have not heard of it.
JVector is the same company which created Cassandra database.
I did. Wow, I did not know that.
And the JVector is the vector database written completely in Java. It is one of the best scalable, and you can use JVector for the embeddings, for instance.
That sounds fantastic.
So take a look. JVector is also on the podcast. So this is the creator of Cassandra, now creates one of the maintainers of Cassandra. Now uses implements the JVector, and now it's the version 3 came out. And what it means is, with LangChain 4J, we can have a pure Java LLM stack.
Yes.
And this is actually, the goal, to use just pure Java, but because then it's particularly interesting in Java projects. Regarding Rust and Java old, so I have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And meanwhile, I have a daily Java short. What I do, I record a daily Java short with various from file access to whatever, and the comments are interesting. So there are people that say, what is it? It looks like JavaScript. So for instance, but it's just, I use Java 21 syntax, what I do in my projects. And one comment was, I hated Java, but now Java is really modern, and I really love Java right now. So the comments are more interesting than the shorts, actually.
That's pretty cool.
And what I think is, if you just write modern Java stuff, var syntax and Java records, and just push forward, Java is absolutely competitive.
Yes.
So I use Java for automation, CLI tools, whatever. I'm crazy fast. I cannot imagine that Python will be faster and when done 5 minutes, no one interested in. To access file in Java, files.read string, and you have the string. This is one liner.
You're right.
So I mean, so this is what we should push for. So I can say, and Rust, I would say, is. I would say the only language which interests me right now would be maybe Rust and Swift. So Swift I know already, so I play with it. And Rust has complete interesting concepts which are not available in Java. But still, I think Rust is not usable for most business applications because it's really hard to learn if you would like to be really good in Rust.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I mean, there are no options. So and Swift is on the server side is not that interesting still.
No.
But yeah. So I would say Java is just the perfect storm. And I don't know whether we had the chat. I mentioned it several times. I use Java in the cloud all the time, which is also a big factor in enterprise.
Sure.
And the reason being is because Java is number 4 regarding energy efficiency and performance.
I did not know that.
And yeah, there is a study. I will also put it to the link always on my slides on conferences. Like they measured algorithms and stuff like that.
Okay.
And there's like, as I remember, C, Rust, and Ada before Java.
Wow.
And anything else is slower. So Rust is a competitor, but then Java comes. Java's number 4 or 5, and interestingly, Python is 35 times slower and less energy efficient in Java. And we talking about glue code. So what it means is if we would, for instance, right?
Yes.
Use something, read something from file, put it to the model, and read from the model. So this glue code in Java is 35 times faster than Python. What means is in the cloud, in worst case, I will have to pay 35 times more.
Of course.
And this is one of the reasons why, because you are paid per gigabyte second in serverless world. So what it means is all my projects are Java
Are
because
cheaper.
the first time in the history, I can show it to management on Excel.
Yes.
So if you use Java, we would save, with Rust, 10, 20% maybe. With C, 10%, but we won't find developers to build business applications with C or Rust.
No, you won't.
And no one would like to learn Ada right now, at least to my knowledge. So, and this is actually what happens right now. So for me now on the cloud, Perfect Storm is one of the reasons why I have absolutely no time to write the book and delegate the responsibility to you.
I can do
because
that.
I spend exactly in this spot all my time, to helping enterprises build efficient and cost-effective Java applications.
Yes.
And now with LLMs.
Yes.
And this is why you should do this. And this is and then you are invited to the next episode of the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
To talk about
the challenge.
Yeah. And disclaimer right now. So it's important to mention to protect me. So I bought your book. I didn't want it to have a free copy. The problem is I get from the publishers always they want to give me free books to review them. I have no time to read either. I just read the interesting books.
Okay.
So I don't like to have any from the other publishers any books. Nothing. Just I will ask you Hollywood Principle if I'm interested in your books. So, but I really bought and happy to buy a book from Bruce, and it was worth it. So I like the read. So this is a disclaimer. So it was not like a sponsored episode. It was a anti-sponsored episode. I bought. You approach me and say, no, I will buy your book, and then we can talk if I like it, right? So this was the deal. And
Thank you.
But if you would like to give away the books, we could arrange something. So there's an AirHacks channel, Discord channel.
Okay.
So you are welcome to join. This is open one. The name is AirHacks. So there are already, I think, more than 600 interested Java developers. So
great.
I would even create an LLM channel, and you can promote the book. Would be cool.
Oh, great.
So we can give away some free copies if you have. If not, coupon codes.
I do.
Whatever.
I do.
So we can do there.
Let's do it.
People can. Yeah, and people can always approach you directly. So where people can find you on the internet? So you have an handle or internet or whatever.
Yes. So basically, if you go to javachatgptbook.com, that is the companion website for the book. And on Twitter, I am at javachatgpt. Very simple.
Very good. And your name is Bruce Hopkins.
Yeah, that's right. Very
good. And you will join maybe the AirHacks channel. You're already on Discord AirHacks server. So discord.gg/AirHacks. And if someone will ping you, we'll maybe get a copy from the book, right?
Sounds good. Actually, I'm going to talk to my publisher, and we're going to see how we can do giveaways and also free codes for discounts.
Yeah, cool. So we can arrange that. And if someone doesn't like the Discord AX channels, you will have to ping your publisher or you directly via the homepage. Is also fine.
Yes.
You're not forced to chat the AX. Only nice people are welcome. So this is
sounds great. Fantastic. And then also I have a challenge for you. If I get a German publisher for the German version for this book, I'm going to need some help on for my German language. So if you know anyone who speaks fluent German and is a Java developer, please let me know.
Yeah, I have probably no time, but I don't think it is worth, honestly, to translate to German. I wrote all my books in English.
Really?
Because, all Germans read English. So there was one, I think in 2006, there was a German publisher and they wanted to have German books. So I wrote in German. But then I wrote all the books in English, and all Germans read it in English, and no one complained.
Good to know.
So I can tell you, it is probably not worth to do it for Java developers. I mean, it will be just ChatGPT, different story. I think all Java developers in Germany speak English.
Ah, very good to know.
And it gets even worse and worse because since, pandemic, we have mixed teams, with all the European teams, and we are forced, even in work, usually to speak English all the time. And all the documentation and enterprise project is usually English. So just as heads up. But if you like, do it, and we'll find someone who...
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Thank you a lot.
Thanks a lot, Adam.
We have to meet and sync our databases, or not necessary. We sync for quantum technology is already working for us. But next time we should review, your LangChain for J. This is your next task, I think. And it will sell more than your current book, I think.
I think so too. Sounds great.
Cool. See you next time.
See you. Talk to you soon.